Thank you for coming to this platform. And if you've not done yet, you can actually subscribe to the platform to see, because this is a WAEC chat platform. We are trying to grow students to be able to write WAEC on their phone and pass. All right. So today we'll be studying biology. And under biology, we'll be studying the introduction to biology. Of course, this is a very important topic. Introduction to biology. And the basic things we need to know about biology so that we can keep ourselves into the system of biology. Biology is a very lengthy topic, lengthy subject rather, and we need to do it, see how we can study it. Okay, so biology, first and foremost, biology can be divided into bio meaning life and logy meaning what? To study. So people usually say that biology is the word to study, the study of life. But in a standard definition, we can actually say biology is the study of life. Why? Because this is just a very primary definition. For us to understand biology, we say biology is the study of life in study of life. Sorry, life and the habitats of living things. So you can now come to realize that this particular definition, biology is the study of life and the habitat of living things, or some people might say in relation. In relation simply means when you study a particular organism, you are studying the relationship of that organism towards the environment of that organism. So that is biology in short. Now, of course, there are career opportunities in biology. When we talk about the educationists and we talk about those that I'm a teacher, I'm also teaching biology. This is a career opportunity in biology. We can also study what microorganisms we call the microbiologists and so on, even in the medicine, the zoologists, the botanists, and so on and so forth. Now, we want to look into living things and characteristics, of living things. This is very simple, a very simple thing that we need to understand. Living things, characteristics of living things. Characteristics of living things. So before we enter the characteristics of living things, we need to also understand the difference between living things, non-living things, and also viruses. How can I differentiate between a living thing, a non-living thing, and a virus? Or are they the same? Of course, they are not the same. Now, living things are those things that they carry out all the characteristics of one life. Now, a living thing are those things that carry out all or some, because there's some living thing that does not carry out some characteristics of life. Yes. For instance, plant does not carry out mobile movement. Yes, but they carry out non-mobile movement. For instance, the movement of trees, the movement of water from the roots to the leaves. Those movements are non-mobile because you don't see the plant moving from one place to another. But human beings carry out mobile movement. So you need to also understand that not all living things carry out all the characteristics. Some living things do not carry out all the characteristics of living things. So have that in mind. But anytime living things are those things that carry out some or all the characteristics of living things. Alright, so non-living things are the opposite of living things, are those things that do not carry out the characteristics of living things. So it's very simple. But viruses, what are viruses actually? Viruses are those organisms that are living. Viruses are living only when they are in their host. Host simply means the organism or the organism that the viruses is affecting. For instance, coronavirus affected humans. Now we humans, we are the hosts, while corona is the virus. So coronavirus is living when it is in human, but the moment coronavirus leaves human, it is a non-living thing. So it's a non-living thing outside the host. So take that. and have that in your in mind. All right, now that we've established the fact between living things, non-living things, and viruses, why don't we just go straight to discuss about the characteristics of living things? The first characteristic that we need to understand here is, of course, the acronym is Mr. Ninja CAD, that's CAD, where D stands for death, A stands for what? Sorry, my writing is a little bit awkward. A stands for adaptation. C stands for competition. M stands for movement. R stands for respiration. N stands for nutrition. I stands for irritability. B. Sorry, this is L. Irritability. We have growth. We have excretion. Mr. Ninja is excretion, and we have reproduction. And of course, from these words, you can actually understand the meaning of all of them. Now, start from nutrition, or movement rather. Movement, what is movement? Movement is the ability for an organism to what? Transport itself or materials from one place to another. Now, have in mind that when plants transport water through the xylem from the roots of the plant to the stem or to the leaves of the plant, that is also movement. So don't see movement as me moving to you towards your direction. No, movement can also be when the plant is moving towards sunlight. And of course, we would discuss all those things in my next video. All right, so we have movement, which is the transport of what? The transport of materials from one part of the plant to the other, or the transport of organisms from one place to another. That's movement. Respiration is not actually the taking in of oxygen and taking out of carbon dioxide. We're in SS class. Respiration is not breathing. Breathing is when we take in oxygen and send out carbon dioxide. Respiration is when we take in oxygen and then that oxygen is broken down. The oxygen is broken down. This is the, let me create space here. When we take in oxygen and the oxygen is broken down, the oxygen is broken down, or the oxygen helps to break down glucose to produce, of course, glucose is an organic compound, and all organic compounds, anytime you have the oxidation of an organic compound, what happens? We have what? Carbon dioxide and water, or we can call it combustion. Anytime oxygen combines the organic compound, the result is what? Carbon dioxide and water. Take note of that. This is an organic compound. So we always have what? Carbon dioxide plus water. Now, what am I trying to say here? Plus, of course, the energy that is being produced. So this respiration, when we take in oxygen, and the oxygen helps to do what? Splits the glucose to give us what? Carbon dioxide and water, which carbon dioxide, we will take it out as a what? Byproduct. We will absorb the water and the energy will be taken in as well, form of what? ATP. So that's how it is. Now, we can also talk about nutrition. Of course, is the eating or the feeding of what? When animals feed, animals go about to feed. That process is called what? Nutrition. And we say that there are two types of feeders: autotrophic feeders and heterotrophic feeders. These are the two main types, not the two types, because we have other feeders like the saprophytic feeders, like the fungi. Those are the saprophytic feeders. But we have two main types are heterotrophic. The two main types are heterotrophic as autotrophic and heterotrophic feeders. Autotrophic feeders are those feeders that they produce food on their own, like the plants. All green plants, all algae produce food on their own. Not all algae actually, all green algae produce food on their own. All the green plant produces food on their own. We have heterotrophic feeders, which of course those particular feeders, like the animals, the man, me and you, we depend directly or indirectly on plants to do what? Eat. So we are called heterotrophic feeders. Now, we now talk about respiration. Okay, talk about that, talk about nutrition. Irritability is the ability for an organism to respond to what? Stimuli. If I give you a nip or a nap on your skin, you come to realize that you feel some little bit of what sensation. Or if I slap you, you feel a little bit of what sensation. That sensation that you are feeling is as a result of the process called what? Irritability. Now, we talk about growth. Growth is the permanent increase in size. Please take note of that. Growth is the what? Permanent increase in the size of an organism. When an organism carries out a permanent increase, this is called what? Growth. Now, someone may ask me, what about the temporary increase? Temporary increase is called swelling. For instance, if you play football and then you knock your foot against a stone, you come to realize that that part of the foot that was being injured will start doing what? Start swelling. Now that swelling is called, of course, it's a temporary increase. Okay, so that is swelling. Now a permanent increase is when I start to grow. I will not get shorter than this, all right? I will keep growing taller until I have to actually reach my limit. So that's how it says. Permanent increase is called growth. Temporary increase is called what? Swelling. Now we can also talk about excretion. This is the removal of what? Waste products or undigested product from the world, from the body. Take note of that. Then we now have reproduction, the giving birth to our young ones what? Alive. Anytime an organism gives birth to a replica of that same species, a replica of that species alive, it is called what? Reproduction. When an organism gives birth to a young one dead, that is excretion. Yes, because that young one didn't come out alive. Like for example, what happens in the hospital most times, or sometimes actually, when pregnant women give birth to their young ones dead, the young one is already dead in the womb, and you give birth, you are excreting a waste product. So take note of that. That's excretion. That's not reproduction. Reproduction is when you actually give birth to that particular organism, and the organism is what? Alive. If the organism came out alive and died outside, then you reproduced. After reproduction, the organism what? Died. That is death. But if the organism died inside the womb, that is what? Excretion. You are excreting a dead human outside. Okay, take note of that. Now we now talk about competition. Of course, this is the ability for organisms to do what? Compete with each other for resources, food and resources. Okay, think of that. Now, all these resources, what are these resources? Resources can be food, it can also be sunlight, it can also be mating partners. Okay, so like for instance, the dog in your the dog in your area, the dog in your house, if that dog finally have a companion, you notice that the dog will start keeping signs and keeping marking his territory so that other dogs will not come in to do what? Touch his wife. Okay, so that's how it is. That's how it works. All right. So we now have what again? We have adaptation. This is when organisms, they survive in adverse conditions. For instance, this is dry season in Nigeria, where I am, and not all organisms can survive in a dry and humid environment like this one.